Do you find yourself making excuses for why you can't save and invest outside of your business? Well, it's easy to fall for the online marketing hype and get seduced by all the big numbers, but the reality is that most coaches are not going to make $1 million a year. So now is the time to figure out a better way to become a millionaire. And there is a simple path to doing so, and it involves investing outside of your business. Warning: this is not a get rich quick video or any of that hustle crap. This is a real, proven strategy on building wealth over a very long period of time. It's simple, but not easy. I'm Justin Green, a certified financial planner, and I help online business owners in their 30s and 40s create strategies and financial playbooks to build wealth outside of their business. In this deep dive, I'm going to tell you a story about a client I work with who only makes about $10,000 in revenue in her coaching business. She's been doing it for a couple years and she's growing, but she's already started saving $1,000 a month. And I'm going to show you how she does that and how that's going to be close to 1.5 million portfolio for her in the future. And the reason I'm going through this scenario, well, yes, if you're making $250,000 a year in revenue, hopefully you can save more than $1,000 a month and you are going to make progress quicker. But I often hear from coaches who aren't making $250,000 a year and they're only making, $100,000 a year, who think they can't build wealth. And I want to show you that it is indeed possible and one of your peers is doing so. So the very first thing that this client does, who I'm going to keep anonymous for the sake of my business, I keep my clients anonymous, but we'll call her Sally. So what Sally does is she maintains a very high profit margin in her business. Now we're talking about 80 to 90% profits before paying herself, right? So this is just about 10 to 20% of her revenue goes towards business expenses such as software, email, business insurance, etc. Now, this client, trust me, is not afraid to invest money into her business. She's been in multiple coaching programs. She has a couple low ticket coaching options that she's a part of right now. However, she knows how to measure ROI and she is diligent in making sure that she recoups those investments as soon as possible. So she's really making sure that she's not wasting money and that when she does invest in her business, it truly is a good investment. So that's the first step, is really focus on your profit margins in the business before you pay yourself as the owner. The second thing, we track everything. Every dollar that comes in and out of the business is tracked. And then one of the biggest mistakes I see online business owners make is that they only track in the business for the sake of bookkeeping and filing their taxes, and they kind of do this last minute. We do this monthly. And we track personal expenses as well. Now, nobody's telling you have to do this. There's no IRS that says you have to track your personal expenses to report them. So you could be off the hook here. But the reality is, if you don't track it, you can't measure it. And so this client tracks everything that goes in and out of her business. And then once that money goes from her business to her personal finances, she then tracks all of her expenses: her rent, her groceries, her entertainment costs, her travel, etc. And this might sound hard, but if you've ever tracked your diet and used MyFitnessPal, it's essentially the same thing. You can once a week take 15 minutes, go in to a software and just categorize your expenses. This client actually just uses a very simple spreadsheet where she takes all of her expenses from the bank and uploads them into the spreadsheet and categorizes them. It does not have to be a super complicated system, and a lot of your banks will actually have some type of electronic tool associated with it where you can categorize those expenses. And then the third thing is not only is she tracking everything, but she's keeping her personal expenses low. Now, I do want to warn you, at $10K a month, this could be challenging if you're raising a family in a high cost of living area. She's single, she's divorced, she has no kids, and she's in her mid-30s. She does not live in a big city. Actually, correction, she does live in a big city, but it's in kind of the Midwestern area. And so it's a pretty low cost of living area. And it's not your like New York City, Los Angeles type of city. So this allows her to keep her living expenses fairly low. She does a really great job of not overspending on supplements, clothing, and groceries, some of the biggest expenses I see for online health and fitness coaches, which is what she does. And so she does a really good job of keeping her expenses low, which gives her the freedom to invest about $1,000 a month on to our fourth point, she does this first. So a lot of people will wait until the end of the month and say, okay, what's left over? Then I'll save and invest that. But the reality is Parkinson's law applies to your finances as well as it does your time. So you've often heard Parkinson's law in the terms of like procrastination, right? If you give yourself 30 minutes to perform a task, it's going to take you 30 minutes to perform that task. If you shorten it to 15 minutes, you'll get it done quicker. Well, this works with your bank account as well. If you've got $2,000 sitting in your bank account and you don't move any of it out to savings so you can invest it, you're going to spend all $2,000. So by getting it out of your account first and then automatically investing that $1,000, she's able to just get it off her plate and it's as if it was never there. And we've automated this transaction as well as the investments that she's investing in. Now, for this sake, we're using a Roth IRA. Now, the limit on a Roth IRA in 2025 is $7,000 annually, but we just started this $1,000 a month contribution last month. And so next year, we will have to take a look and reanalyze her goals and see where do we want to put the other $5,000 annually into? What account is the best one for her? Some options that we could look at, and we won't dive too deep in here. Brokerage account, which is the most flexible account, a self-employment retirement account such as a SEP IRA or solo 401k could allow her to reduce her tax obligation while also investing for the future. So those are some accounts that we'll consider. For this year, we're sticking with the Roth IRA strategy because it's a great account. She'll be under the limits and she can take advantage of it at this moment. But as her revenue and income continues to grow, that might be off the table. Now, you're probably listening to this and you're like, wait a minute. She's only saving $1,000 a month investing it, and you're talking about a 1.5 million portfolio. So how does that make sense? And so here's what I want to show you. $1,000 a month into a Roth IRA plus another account next year would mean $12,000 annually is getting invested. We could reasonably assume, not guarantee, but assume an 8% return on an aggressive stock market index fund. So this client, she's invested in an aggressive stock market index fund, so we're going to assume an 8% return. Now, here's the kicker. In 30 years, that's right, I'm not talking about overnight. I'm not talking about in 2 years. I'm talking about consistently over her lifetime. In 30 years, if she continues to do this, that will result in a almost $1.5 million portfolio. Now, that may seem like a lot, but there's going to be inflation. $1.5 million in 30 years is not going to be what it is today. So will that be enough? Probably not. But this client's revenue is growing. So she's building the habit of investing and saving right now while she can at $1,000 a month. I am super confident that $1,000 is going to go to $2,000 and then to $3,000 and then maybe above and beyond that in the future. So that 1.5 million is probably not going to be her end result. That is the minimum based off of what she's currently contributing. And I'm just super confident this client is going to go above and beyond that in the future. And this is what's called time value of money. It's very easy to scoff at saving and investing $1,000 a month because it just doesn't seem like a lot. But when you do that consistently and you let it compound annually at 8%, over the long term, you have a pretty good result. Now, in the first couple of years, it actually doesn't look like much because compounding happens in those later years and it starts to happen drastically at the end of that. And so if she didn't touch this for 35 years, that would take that portfolio and significantly increase it because compounding is happening so much quicker at the end of those, those between 30 and 35 years. So this is what it actually means to invest in yourself. You hear this online and it's the online marketing gurus, pitching this as invest in yourself, which really means just buy my course, buy my program, etc. If you want to invest in your future and your family's future, then you need to start taking some money out of the business and putting it towards your future goals. Because the reality is as a solopreneur, small business owner with a coaching business, consulting business, creator business, you are probably not building a lot of enterprise value in your business. So if you were to try and sell the business, you might be able to sell it in the future if you build it correctly. But the reality is if you just focus on reinvesting into the business at all times, there's no profit there. So nobody's going to look at that and want to buy that business. So by taking these steps, optimizing profit in your business and then ultimately paying yourself and investing outside of the business, it's the best of both worlds, because your business, if you do decide to sell it and you are able to down the road, well, it's got high profit margins. That's a lucrative opportunity to the buyer, so you're going to get more money for that business. You've also already built yourself a portfolio outside of the business, so you're not super dependent on selling it, and you can kind of hold out for the best deal possible. So if you don't feel like you have the expertise to build your own financial plan like I did with this client, go ahead, reach out, schedule a call using the link in the description below to get on my calendar. We'll have a 30-minute introductory call where I learn more about you, your goals, and see if I might be a good fit to create a financial plan for you.